so dirty, it's unreal.
First question then is, have you had a shower today?
No, I haven't showered for a few days now. I know it's wrong. It's bad.
I guess the idea is to provide some information or some support specifically for our members, because obviously what they're missing the most from us is probably that group training in the pool, working hard, and what they're worried about is that all that hard work that we've put in swim squads over the last year or two is going to be lost because they're just not able to swim for the foreseeable future, and we don't know how long that's going to last.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's like a swim engine is a very unique engine, and once you've switched a swim engine on, it is really, really difficult to lose it. Yes, everybody loses a bit of fitness over time, but it's once you've engaged that swim engine and you've been a regular squad swimmer, then you've always got that. I mean, and that's what happens when you've got club swimmers like myself and age group swimmers. When we, growing up, when we were young, we were in the pool, like God knows how many times a week. You switch that engine on, and you always keep that engine. You don't ever lose that engine. You just have to sort of spark it up. If you could then go for a period of years, you stop swimming at the age of 18, you come out your clubs, out of age group swimming, out of nationals, whatever, and and then you re-engage with the sport in your 30s. The thing is, if you've been a swimmer when you were young, you've just got to find that engine again. And I think that people are now just really, really worried that they're just going to lose it. And that really concerns me as a coach, because actually, look, we're all in the same boat, and we just need to take the time to sort of roll through the day. And I think not get overly consumed with not being in the water. I know the water is really important to some people, but I think that you've got to have more in your locker than just water. And I know a lot of swimmers that are connecting with yoga and doing 30 minutes every morning of yoga just to find that kind of spiritual connection that I know the water gives lots of people.
Some of our swimmers haven't been. Some of our swimmers are newish to the squad. They've been swimming for a while, but they've obviously, in the squad, we've done some real technique focus around really embedding that muscle memory and getting the technique embedded for those swimmers. And they've just started on that journey. So for them, I suppose the worry might be that hard work they've put in for those few months, if they've only been with us for a while, is going to be lost.
Yeah, and I mean, dry land training, I mean, that's why we put the content out, is get a bungee out, get a resistance band out, get a bike in a tube out, and work your shoulders. And in fact, look, swimming is for quite a lot of people, it's so top heavy. I mean, if you look at my posture, years of swimming as a kid, my shoulders are a little bit rounded, and I've got very strong pec muscles. But what's happened is over the years, I haven't spent enough time stretching out the front of that chest. So I've become, even though I've got very strong shoulders, I've become a little bit rounded. So I've spent the last 2.5, 3 years consistently working on that. And I think that's what swimmers need to do, is they need to actually go back to some dry land stuff and take our technique out of the water and really find that good technique, really start to think about opening up the chest, working that early vertical forearm, working that stroke. And you can do that with resistance bands. And that is more beneficial than getting in a pond or a garden pool and swimming really shit technique, to be fair. That's probably, Kat, what upsets me the most.
Yeah, well, I was going to come on to that, because obviously some people have already got these garden pools. We've seen a lot of it sort of appearing on social media. It's a bit of a trend of the lockdown swim training. And some of our members probably will be thinking about doing that. And I know it's something that we are both feeling a little bit concerned about for various reasons. So in terms of, although we're putting the content out for people who have got pools or have got access to endless pools that they can use, in terms of our members, what are your thoughts? What would we be advising them as part of our squad?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of concerns with garden pools because as a coach and as a technician, and I really pride myself on that. I've watched a lot of these videos, and the technique element it upsets me. It does really upset me, actually. I get quite sad when I look at people in ill-appropriate depth pools, so they're not allowing their arms to extend enough underwater, but more so the use of the bungee. That really upsets me when I see bungees attached to ankles, when I see bungees that are not positioned in the right place, that are sort of skating on top of the water, and all it leads to is just really poor technique. And it leads, actually, what it does, I see a lot of what we call old style swimming, which is sort of like a kayak, what we call a kayak stroke. And we've there's still some swimmers that use that, and that's when you really use the momentum of arms, and it tends to give a more snaking momentum than a rolling momentum, which is where we are with our swimming now. And a kayak stroke is okay if you know what you're doing and you know that that's a kayak stroke. But I see a lot of people that are changing their strokes while they're in these garden pools. And that upsets me, because you are then starting to unpick really good technique that you found in your swim squads or in your pools. So I also, from an environmental viewpoint as well, I worry about what will happen to all these pools when we've got them, because look, we've had great weather and it's a really, really shitty day today. Well, I mean, it's not, but it's cold and it's windy, and to be fair, there ain't no way that I'm going to get in a garden pool that's freezing cold. I mean, my endless pool is normally heated at 29 degrees. And trust me, when the weather's like that, that's low enough. And I don't really want to be getting in a freezing cold pool and splashing around, kayaking in that pool just to get some strokes in. I would much rather do 30 minutes of yoga and then do 50 minutes of land training, working on my high elbow catch, than doing that. I think that the latter far outweighs getting in cold water. And I certainly wouldn't be swimming in a wetsuit as well, because that is just, for me, and because I know the kind of swimmer that I am, I know that swimming in a wetsuit will be very detrimental to my proprioception, my feeling in the water, and to my body position. It will sit me too high in the water, and I tell you what, all I'll have is a screaming bad back for about a week. So yeah, mixed feelings, really.
Yeah, that's another thing, I guess, is that, and that we've talked about, is the temperature of these pools. So I think it has been warmer weather the last couple of days, and people have seen other people swimming in garden pools, thinking that it would be a good idea. But realistically, those pools are going to be very, very cold, aren't they?
Yeah, they're freezing. They were straight out of the tap. I mean, I'm not sure what, but I mean, unless you've got unless you've got a heater, and and they're expensive. Like, look, my endless pool is really expensive to run, and it's heated at 29 degrees. I've drained my hot tub. I've got a separate hot tub attached to the pool, and that was running at 38 degrees. That's drained. So yeah, I mean, to go and swim in cold water straight from the tap, I mean, it's going to be colder than me swimming in the Trent, I think.
You'd have to go in a wetsuit, wouldn't you? I don't think you wouldn't last very long.
No, yeah. I mean, no, not I mean, not at this time of the year. We're just about breaking open water season, aren't we? But you're going to be hard pushed to go in skins for any longer than 20 minutes. I mean, having done this all my life, I mean, if Kate and I got in the Trent now, we get in, we'd probably make it from the kayak club down to Trent Bridge and back up, which would probably be an 800-meter stretch. We'd probably just about do that. And then we'd have to stand in a hot shower for about, well, actually, Kate's a little bit more hardcore than I'd have to stand in a hot shower for about 30 minutes before I could get out. So it's sort of, what I would say is it worth it?
I suppose that's the other thing as well, is to say, like, why are you doing it? In terms of, I mean, obviously, if people are training for cold water swims, and that's what you would do, you would have to do that as part of your training. But I'm guessing that most events now that people had lined up for the summer are looking unlikely to happen.
Well, yeah. Yeah, exactly. What are you training for? I mean, there's no events that are going to happen. I think you need to anticipate that the next series of events that will happen for triathletes, even open water swimmers, not necessarily training, but events, will be next year. And I think that's realistic. So why put the pressure on yourself, and is it really worth it? Is it worth that investment, just for this period of time? And hopefully lakes, we'll be able to get back in lakes soon and back to the beaches, but is it really worth it, all that faff? And I don't, and there's part of me as well, the sort of environmental element as well. I mean, look,
because the investment is not just of your time and your money, it's also the potential environmental impact of doing something like that, and whether it's necessary at a time when we're going through a pandemic crisis to have stuff delivered.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, isn't it? Is it an essential item? These people have still got to deliver them, and I don't know. It's sort of, do we really need these pools to be delivered? Also, they are plastic, and I don't know, plastic. Will all these pools end up in landfills? I don't know. Will they? Will we see loads of bits of garden pools floating around in the ocean? I don't know. I don't know how durable they are. I don't really know a great deal about them. I've swam in them once or twice, but they've always felt that it's fine, to get in and cool off on a hot summer day. But even then, I remember you get in, you kind of splash around, throw a ball, and then you get out again. Still on a hot day, swim it. I mean, you know what it's like when you hold a hose above your head in the summer. You can only do that for so many seconds, can't you? And the heat retention of thin plastic is going to be really poor. So, yeah, I mean, it's not something I would do. But then it's dead easy for me to say that, isn't it? Because I have a pool in my garden. So what I don't want to be here is massively critical either.
And we don't. I think that's the message, isn't it? I think what we want to do is to reassure those that are making the decision to just not swim for this period. That all is not lost, and that from a coaching point of view, from an endurance training point of view, and from a swimming muscle memory point of view, there's other things that you can be doing without investing in one of these pools if that doesn't feel right to you. And if you have got one, we're developing loads of content for people who are lucky enough to have access to that about how to get the best out of it. So that will be going out to anybody who needs it. But if you haven't, don't worry. Like, don't stress.
Don't worry.
We're really hoping that very soon that one of the first things to come back potentially could be open water swimming. That's more likely than leisure centre swimming, in which case WholeHealth members will be in a perfect position to access the water first and get back in the water, and we'll be there to guide people and support people and encourage, reassure people to get those skills and that all that back as quickly as they can. But in the meantime, I think I'd just like to say to people, don't worry. I think, there's a lot to think about. There's a lot of stress around, and you don't want that worrying about your swim technique to be one.
Correct. Yeah. And I think for me, it is, yeah, it's all of those things, isn't it? But for me, you know, it's the technique when I watch videos, people that I don't know anything about, when they're jumping in muddy bits of water and they're just thrashing it out. And don't get me wrong, there is a place for a windmill stroke. There is a place for a windmill stroke in open water, or if you're an elite swimmer banging out 50 meters, or 100 meters in the Olympics. But yeah, for the usual type of swimmer, it's not a sustainable stroke. It doesn't lend itself well to good technique. You need to be able to swim a good technical front crawl before you then have other strokes in your locker, like a kayak stroke, like a windmill stroke. You need to be able to understand and hold the water, purchase the water, anchor the water before you look at other types of swimming. And for me, yeah, I'm seeing too much technique that really upsets me, makes me sad. Too much poor technique that upsets me, and so I can't watch it anymore. And I would be so worried for our members if they started banging out really poor technique in these pools. It would just make me sad, Cat. Make me sad.
And we're already sad. We don't want to be any sad.
I don't want to be any. I know.
We just want to make the most of this time and keep everybody safe and healthy during this time, and not to do anything that's going to sort of delay or undermine your ability to go through what we're going through. And I think, and for me, it's, you know, minimizing stress and worry. Like that's not something. There's people have got a lot of things going on in their lives they do need to worry about at the moment. And I think,
yeah,
losing your swim technique because you're out of the water for a few weeks to manage a global pandemic, it's not one of them. It shouldn't be one of them. It should just...
No, I don't. It's not. It's, you know, it's not a priority. I mean, look, I really miss sort of hugging people. I really miss going to the pub. I really miss going around my friends' houses, but I can't do it. And I don't really like this whole, I don't really like the social chatting on Zoom. I find that quite difficult for somebody like me who's an extrovert, because I just want to just keep talking and having a laugh, but you can't, because your square's not always highlighted and you're chatting to somebody else who's talking as well at the same time. So, but you just got to, everybody else is in the same boat, so you just got to roll with it. And I think that I understand, you know, swimming and the water is really important. It's really important to me, and it's been a really important part of my mental health, my mental stability, certainly over the last sort of 5 years. But I've turned my hand to yoga. You know, I'm not in my pool every day, and I'm not in my pool every day because I don't want to be. But also, if I am in it, then sometimes I'm only in it for 10 minutes, and I'll just do a little bit of technique. I'll do a little bit of head up breaststroke. I got a call coming in. You know, but I've turned to yoga, and do you know what? That for me has started to become quite spiritual. That's the kind of connection that I needed. It kind of calms me down, it resets me, and I've seen it as a massive opportunity to really try something that I haven't given much attention to in the past. And I think that's really important. I'm 47, and to learn that new skill. I know I don't look it. I know. That's what you were supposed to say then, Kat.
Sorry. Yeah, my box wasn't highlighted, so I didn't say anything.
So, you know, I think that to get to grips with a new activity, a new skill like that is
I completely agree. I think it's something that needs to be replaced. And I think for a lot of the people who are members of Swim Squad or members of WholeHealth, a big part of it was the connection, the meeting up with people, they're doing something together. And that is very difficult to replace. I can't say, I'm sure everybody's feeling the loss of that, not just from swim sports, but from all aspects of their life. And we are working on ways that the team can stay connected, and we'll do that, and we're always open to other suggestions of how we can do that.
Yeah.
So that's another part. That's another sort of loss, isn't it, in this difficult time. But we're trying to stay connected through various different ways. So we are meeting up for Zoom spin sessions and Zoom yoga sessions, and trying to get people together in different ways, doing the virtual triathlons. And that's the best we can do at the moment. And I think sometimes you just have to accept that this is the best we can do at this moment in time.
Yeah.
And everybody's doing their best.
Yeah, and there's some really good stuff out there. You know, the one thing about this period of time is about the danger of over functioning, and when you start over functioning, you just add more and more and more and more stress to what shouldn't be a stressful situation. The stress that we all have, I'm sure, is a financial burden, and we're all thinking about this in terms of as we move forward. But in terms of the situation as it is, yes, we used to fill in our days, and we're used to functioning and maybe over functioning and going from one thing to the next to the next. And I think we could all take something from this period and learn to stop over functioning and learn to just let the day roll along and embrace it with acceptance, because this situation is the same for everybody, and with some gratitude. And I know that's really hard, and it's dead easy for those words to fall out of my mouth, but I think that's the only thing that I try and do. And I know that Kat, we talk about that a lot, is, you know, and you do little bits, and you let the day roll, you roll through the day, and you do a little bit of this, and then you have a sit down, and then you roll into the next thing, and then you have maybe a connection, like a Zoom meeting, whether it's aerobics, and then the day then rolls into night. You go to bed, and then you start again, isn't it? And you thank.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a sort of, it's difficult as a coaches as well, because you don't want, there's a lot of content out there, isn't there, of people saying, oh, what they're doing, and how they're how well they're doing in isolation, and how they're, you know, working harder than they've ever done, and they're, I don't know, and posting sort of fun and exciting things they've done, and some days are like that and some days aren't. And as I think, yeah, with social media, you can, as always, you can get bogged down into, you know, how everybody else is coping so well on a day when you're not. And we don't want to come across as sort of preachy or
oh no, not at all.
Like, we're doing fine, you should just do this. We know that it's difficult, and we know that it's more difficult for some people than it is for others, and it might be more difficult for you than it is for me, and on some days it might be more difficult for me than it is for you. We just want to be available, and to, you know, be as helpful as we can be to each other. And I personally get a lot of help and a lot of support from being part of the team and part of the squad, and sort of still, you know, having those people in mind, and being connected with people makes a massive difference. It does make a massive difference, even though it can't be physically connected, like actually seeing people in person now. It makes a difference to feel part of that group, and have that to think about.
Well, it's become like a family. I get very protective over our membership, and I think it's important that we do offer some balance. I mean, I can honestly tell you now that I'm not overtraining, but I'm not like that. I never have been like that. I've always trained. I'll train once a day, but you probably won't catch me training twice a day, because I've never really done that unless I've been training for an event like the Channel or another swim. I do an input once a day. Maybe I might do a 30-minute yoga and then something else later on in the day. But I'm just really aware of my body. I'm trying to get my body repaired. I carry a bit of a knee problem, my shoulders, and I'm just trying to tick over and keep myself healthy. I certainly don't feel compelled to fill my days training, but that's just not me. That's
I'm probably more, as an ex triathlete, or just about going on to, I'm probably more in the danger of overtraining type personality. And I know that other people are like that. You've got this time, and you've also got this fear of like clinging on to your fitness and to your technique, and perhaps doing too much and sort of losing a structure to what you're doing as well, because you've lost the focus potentially of doing a race. You might not be following any specific training plan, so you might just be seeing, oh, there's a HIIT session, there's a another session that I might be interested in, oh, I can get any number of cycle sessions on Zwift, there's loads of events going on, I'm just going to join in as many as I can.
Yeah.
And I think that is a danger as well. Not, some people, everybody's individual and everybody needs to do what they need to do to stay balanced. But I think there is, like you were just talking about, Justine, about finding some balance of being accepting of what's happening in this time and just letting some things go, thinking about what is actually important. And it is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to work on something different, and it's an opportunity to find different ways to connect with people. And that does sound a bit cheesy, and when you see a lot of that, people, the world's going to be different after this because everybody's found new ways, everybody's talking to their neighbours now and that sort of stuff. But there are opportunities within it, and there are still things to be grateful for.
Yeah, definitely. It's and particularly, and I think it's a time, isn't it, to rumble, to try and get to know the person that you are. I feel like we're going quite deep now, though, Kat.
Yeah. We've got to go on swimming now. I'm like yoga.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an extrovert, and I always knew that this situation could be quite difficult for me. Have I found it hard? I have some days, but I've been really, really mindful of, I have to accept the kind of person that I am, and that not having physical contact with people was going to be difficult for me. Not having my usual morning routine. The only thing I like structuring during the day is what I do in the mornings, and that for me is always between the hours of 6 and 8 o'clock with my training partner Kate, who I haven't been able to see for ages. And I knew that was going to be hard. The rest of the day I'm not worried about, because the rest of the day involved me working and ferrying my kids places. I miss going out, and I don't know, sort of the tiredness you get from working mentally, when you get mentally tired. I'm still working, but I'm just not running around from one place to the other, cycling to Victoria Leisure Centre, coming back. And I've just decided that I need to, for me, I've just been really aware of that it could be quite difficult. And I've just decided that, right, well, I'm just going to have to accept it. And there are going to be some days that are going to be tougher than others. On the whole, it's made my resilience has really started to grow. And when I've had those feelings of when I'm going to sort of explode because I feel a bit lonely, you just have to do a little bit of self-talk, don't you? You have to accept it, welcome it to your door, and identify that that's the source. And then, you have to sort of appreciate that actually you can't do anything about it, because you're not the only extrovert in the whole wide world who might be struggling at this moment in time, isn't it? But I then don't go and do a spin class or a HIIT class. I just sit quietly and have a think.
Yeah, I think for some people, especially, so I think it is social contact, isn't it? Our social contact, a lot of our social contact was based around meeting for exercise, meeting to work out together, or to, for swim squad or tri squad or going on bike rides, and that's gone. And then reaching out to people for support, not necessarily for support, but just for someone to talk to, or just for contact, is more difficult because there's not that structure around it. So you would just rock up to swim squad and it'd be like, oh, hi, and there's your social contact. It's not forced, it's not asked for. You haven't had to, make a special effort to go to somebody and say, how are you doing, or start a conversation. It just happens. So I think having that structure gone can be difficult for people as well. But people can still reach out to us. We like that, don't we?
I do. I really like that. I really love the way that I think we've got a great balance with our members in terms of how we connect with them, and hopefully they know that we're here and we're not over functioning with our content. We're trying to build our YouTube content, which means that people can access it if they want to, without having to feel that they have to join in every Zoom chat that we do, or every Facebook Live that we do, which we don't do many of unless it's based around an event. So for us, it's about finding the balance as well, isn't it, in terms of our connection with our members. But I genuinely feel really proud of what we've done, and I'm super proud of our members and how they reach out to each other and support each other.
I think that's been really, that's the response has been amazing to the stuff that we've put out, and then all the sort of little connections between members where people are meeting up for Zwift rides, or they are getting in touch and asking each other where they've helped each other out with lending turbo so that people can join in the group session, and doorstepping each other to lend books or whatever. I think that's really been, I mean, heartwarming sounds a bit naff, but it's been really lovely to see that that people have got that connection between themselves, and that can keep going, even though it's, you know, especially when it's a difficult time and we're all struggling from time to time.
But our jumpers are still going strong, Kat. My jumper's never been so clean. I don't know about yours. I haven't had to wear it for about 5 days because it's been so hot. Not anymore.
No, it's clouded over again today, which makes it easier to stay indoors, I guess. But
so I think going back to our original point, isn't it, about worrying about losing swim fitness? Don't worry about it. It will. You've switched on. I know people who come to our squads. You've switched on your engine now. You've got a swim engine. That swim engine is not going to go. The only people that need to worry are the people who've never swam before, because they will, and if they were thinking about swimming, or they may have swam a few times before lockdown, and then they thought, oh, this is my sport, not here anymore, then those are the people who are going to miss out. You guys have already switched on your engine. You've already got that there. You're already committed to the squad. That engine, trust me, will come back. I had a knee operation. I smashed up my knee playing netball over 3 years ago now, and I was out of the pool for a long time. And then when I got back in the pool, I could only swim with a pull buoy, and I had such limited movement on it. And you ask Kate Vines, you asked James Hickman before he went to Australia, you asked them what I was like in the pool. It was a nightmare, and they banned me from the pool. I actually went down to the pool some mornings and I walked on poolside with crutches. Yeah, this is how ridiculous I was, with crutches. And Kate Vines would go, you need to get out of here, Wales. And I'd have to go and, you know.
I think thinking of it like an injury is very helpful, actually.
Yeah.
You go through a very similar process where you sort of have this grieving period when you're injured, and then you have to come to a point of acceptance, and you have to build back up, and you accept that that's going to be the journey, and that is how we are. And in the meantime, you do everything you can to stay strong and to prevent that injury reoccurring.
Yeah.
And so we need to stay,
you're right,
healthy and fit. We need to strengthen what we can, and accept that this is where we are in the journey, and trust that your coaches will be on it when you get back. I was thinking we might even give them a little bit of leeway on their PB times when they come back, maybe just for a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. You know, and that's our job, isn't it? That's our job, and I'm certainly not going to get you back in the swim squad and start thrashing you, because there's no point in that. There's no fun in that. There's no sense of achievement in that, and it's completely useless, pointless, soul destroying training. So
as coaches, we've worked with athletes that have been injured before and come back, so we know it's exactly the same process. We know how we'll be able to structure that. We've done it ourselves and we've worked through injuries, so it's the same process. It's not something that we can't handle or don't know how to approach. It's it's a familiar situation for a lot of people who've been out of the water for a period of time for whatever reason.
Yes.
And I'm sure there's lots of people that can, tell stories like Justine's of when they have been, but you get that fitness back. And in the meantime, you do what you can to be even stronger when you get back in the pool, which is do the exercises that we prescribe.
Do the exercises, do the land training,
do the
it.
aerobics.
Absolutely. I mean, that's all I did when I couldn't get in the water. That's I had to do all of that, and it was great. I got back in, and I'm not being funny. Like, it took the first week was really hard. The second week wasn't so, and then you find your way with it, and it just, like I say, it takes a couple of weeks to switch it back on again, but you never lose that engine. You don't. It just doesn't happen. You read it anywhere, any of the research. Once you've got a swim engine, you've got it for good. Trust me on that.
This is why it's so obvious when people have learned as children, isn't it? Because even as adults getting back into the pool, if they've stopped swimming, you can spot people who've learned to swim well as a child. It's muscle memory, and the technique is embedded.
Yeah, completely. And you've got to remember that, yes, there aren't any other sports where it transfers positively into swimming, in terms of the way that you use your lungs and your breathing. But it's like I say, it's once you've got it, you've got it. Yeah. So not to worry.
No. And you can stay fit. The most important thing is to stay healthy, so that when we do come back, you're ready to go.
Yeah. I tell you what, you want to see my new improved yoga body. Tell you what, drop dead gorgeous it is. I'm absolutely tonked to the high heavens. Hench I am. And obviously I've got this to go with it as well, so it's all good.
Oh, it's the whole package.
I'm going to be strutting the catwalk.
I think shit.
Namaste.
The lockdown is starting to have an effect.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So, Catriona, lovely to catch up with you as ever, and members, love you all very much, and well done for sticking together for helping each other out, and allowing us to connect with you as well.
Yeah,
world to us.
It's a privilege and an honour at this time.
It is, definitely.
Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. We'll be fine.
Yes. Namaste.
Peace out.